Good morning, my faithful loyal YouTube subscribers. So I've been missing in action for the past 2 days. Today is Thursday, July 29th. The year is 2021. We're still in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. The Delta virus is visiting us now. We got the Delta. They hopped on the coronavirus and hopped on Delta Airlines and came on to America. New mutant, like X-Men. But anyway, Monday night. You know, the weather's been extremely hot here in Georgia. Monday night, the power went out here in my home. Well, all of my neighbors, our power went out on Monday night. I woke up in the middle of the night I went to bed. When I went to sleep, the power was on, the air conditioner was on, my fan was going, everything was going, my little soft music was playing, I was in bed asleep. And so at some point, all electricity went out, so everything stopped. And I woke up like, what the hell, what's going on? Well, I noticed it's dark. It was extremely dark. My little night lights in the bathrooms. I have night lights in my bathroom. Hallways. I'm old, so I'd be able to see right. I don't want to stumble and fall and hurt myself. Since I live by myself, nobody would find me in this apartment for days. I'd be dead upstairs. But anyway, the electricity went out, and so I was trying to find. I woke up, and I noticed electricity's out. So I kind of dozed back off, and then a little while after that, my phone rang. The phone was ringing, and it was actually, I answered the phone, and the woman says, "Is this Mr. Hampton?" I said, "Yes, it is." And she said, "Well, this is so-and-so with Georgia Power. We're trying to get in your gate to restore your power." Obviously, one of my neighbors had called, and they were trying to get in the gate. The gate with no power, you couldn't get in the gate. But as I was talking to Georgia Power, I heard this loud noise. This was on Monday night, so I said, "It sounds like a truck," and I was still laying in bed. I said, "It sounds like there's a truck outside my house, outside my home." And I went and peeked out the window, and sure enough, Georgia Power said, "Well, he's in the gate now because he's inside." So where I live at, there is directly behind my row of townhouses, there is a Georgia Power substation. Obviously, something happened, the power went out, they came in, and to access this particular substation, they actually have to come onto the property where I live at in this apartment complex. So I fell back to sleep. And then I woke up and the power was back on. So later on that day, I got a text message from one of my neighbors. She said, "Is the power back on?" I said, "Yeah, it's back on." I said, "How long was it out that morning?" Because I fell asleep. She said it was out all night. So I was asleep for a while before I realized the power was out. And the Georgia Power came in about maybe 6 or 7 that morning and restored the power. So Tuesday night, I went to the gym, came home late. I went to the grocery store. I forget what I went to go get. Anyway, I left the gym late, and I went. I brought some rotisserie chicken from Kroger's. You know, you can get them 2 for $10. So I went and got me one of them rotisserie chickens, and I got me a salad from Kroger, and came on home and ate my chicken and stuff. And it was about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the evening time. So I was ready to take a shower and watch some TV. As I proceeded to eat my food and go upstairs to hop in the shower, the electricity went out again. I said, "Ooh, electricity went out again." I said, "Wow." So I said, "Well, let me go call Georgia Power again," because this time I was up. So I went and called Georgia Power, and they actually have an app that you could say your service is out. You can send them a text message, or you can send them, you log into Georgia Power and you do this stuff, and they tell your power's out. So I recorded the outage, and didn't think much about it because I figured I don't know how long we're going to be out of power. But, Lord, that was the beginning of it. So it was about 8:30 at this point, 9 o'clock at night. Finally, Georgia Power arrives about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. They pulled up with all these trucks behind my home. I mean, loud trucks, diesel trucks, loud noise, men making noise, talking. It's midnight. I'm like, oh, Lord, is that they? And they knocked on my door, and the guy said, "Are you going to be here? Because we may need to get access to your unit as we're working on restoring the power here." So I said, "Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. Where we're going to go? It's 12 midnight. It's pitch black outside. It's dark. I'm not going no place." Now, it was hot as hell in. That air conditioning clicked off. With no fans, no air conditioning. It was hot. I have a little iPad, so I sit there I will start watching a little Netflix movie on iPad, thinking, okay, my little iPad is working. It's fully charged. Long story short, they got here around 11:30, 11 at night. They didn't leave. Georgia Power did not leave here until 5 o'clock Wednesday morning. So Tuesday night, I went out Monday night, they restored it. Tuesday night went out about 8:30. They didn't leave here until about 5 o'clock in the morning. Right at 5 o'clock in the morning, the lights came on. Now, here's the crazy part. I was up that whole time because I couldn't sleep. Plus, they were making all this noise. I tried to lay on the couch. I tried to lay on this couch. It was hot down here. It was hot. It was miserable. So, in the midst of all this stuff, they restored the power. It's a little bit longer about it, but anyway, they restored the power over here, and later on in the day, I got a text message again from one of my neighbors. She said, "Hey, is the power back on?" I said, "Yes, the power's on." I said, "I didn't get any sleep last night. It was so hot." I said, "Are you up already? Did you sleep last night?" She said, "I slept fine last night." I said, "Oh, okay." She said, she alerted. She said, we went to Airbnb. So when their power went out, my neighbors, they hauled theirs. They said, "Oh, no, we can't do this." They hauled theirs to Airbnb. And I was stuck here sweating like a pig in heat, dealing with Georgia Power running in and out of my house, trying to restore this power, and there was loud noises, and it was a miserable experience. So anyway, yesterday was Wednesday. I was so tired. I couldn't do the video yesterday. I finally got some rest Wednesday night. It's hard for me to sleep during the daytime. So last night I went to bed about 9:30, 10 o'clock. Now, I slept all night long. I don't think I just got to bed at 10 o'clock in the morning. I was exhausted. So sometimes we take for granted Georgia Power, our electricity in our homes. I couldn't imagine living in a home without air conditioning or without electricity. You know, it just, your home is dark, hot, sweaty, no fan, no comfort. It was just miserable. But anyway, they restored the power, and actually had to bring in some big transformer. They did something because it wasn't just our power was out. There were surrounding neighborhoods that went out also. But the power thing sits behind my house. The substation, I'll say, something like that. So they had to replace something. I guess it overheated because we've had this extremely hot weather, and everybody was running the air conditioning units trying to stay cool. So anyway, that was that. So a day ago or so, I did a story about a man who killed this woman, his coworker. And in the midst of that story, they found two bodies. They found two bodies of the guy who, if you watch the video, two brothers and this woman were arrested for the murder of a young lady he met at his job. This guy named Mr. Lane. Well, come to find out, the second body they found was another co-worker. She disappeared in, I'm looking for the story, she disappeared in January of this year. And they had her mom on the news describing what happened, how she disappeared, dealing with the same guy, Mr. Lane, one of the co-workers. I'm looking for this story, her name, I just saw it. Where'd it go? I just had it on my phone, so I was going to read it to you all. Basically, another woman disappeared in January of this year. She was also another victim of Mr. Lane. He killed her, and that's what the second body that they found next to the other woman got killed, Miss Victor. I can't find the story. I'm going to have to find it. I know it's in there somewhere. But anyway, both women met this man at her job. Now, the first victim who died and who disappeared in January, she was only 19 years of age. She met Mr. Lane, who was again 43 years of age, and don't forget he had served 20 years in prison for rape or assault. This was a very good story. I really wanted to find this story. I'm going to have to, or maybe on the wrong site. Give me a second, y'all, because I'm trying to find this. I know I should have had it already ready. But it just kind of alerted me that these women both women went with this man that they didn't know, and he was a co-worker. He had to have a lot of good game to convince both these women to come to his home. I just wonder what happened that these women felt comfortable going with him, other than the fact that they were co-workers. I just wonder what took place between these women that they would trust this man. And this man ended up killing both these women. The first one he killed was back in January. He got away with that one. So then he lured another woman, another co-worker, to his home and killed her also. Both mothers. The crazy part is the mother of the woman who was killed. That's why I really wanted to get to this story. I'm going to search this thing on thing. The mother of the woman who was killed in January, she knew her daughter was with this particular man, because she introduced Mr. Lane to her daughter introduced her mom to this man, and she knew that there was something wrong. She didn't particularly care for this man. And I'm scrolling through all these other stories, but anyway, my whole thing about this that's said to me is that these two young women were somehow convinced to go someplace with a man who was a co-worker, and he brutally killed these women. Here it is. I found it. The second set of remains found in Stockbridge are Locust Grove woman. So her name was, she was 19 years of age, Conteshia McCoy. Conteshia McCoy disappeared in January of this year. Her body was found at the same time as the DeKalb County woman Mirsha Victor, 23, who was killed nearly 2 weeks before the discovery of the man. She was killed 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry. She was killed nearly 2 weeks before the discovery of her remains. She was dead for 2 weeks before they found her body. So both these women were found at the same location. And Dennis Lane was the person who was arrested and charged, him and his brother, Mr. Fisher, and some woman named Mirsha Victor. This man murdered 2 women that he worked with. Miss McCoy had been missing since mid-February, according to Locust Grove Police. She left the home on February 13th with an unknown person. She left her home with the man who killed her. So she's only 19 years of age. I'm just trying to figure out, here we are in year 2021, maybe because I'm more seasoned and more experienced. I don't think I would have went someplace with somebody I really didn't know who was just a coworker. I don't know how long they had been working with this man at this job, these 2 women. I don't know why they trusted him with their life. They probably didn't realize who. I guess maybe I'm just old and I don't know. Yeah, I'm not going to a place with nobody. I swear to you all, when I go places, I drive my car. I don't want people to pick me up. I want to be able to drive my car, so if I have to leave, I can get in my car and go home. You know how you go out to clubs or restaurants with people, and I always tell people I'm driving my car. Because when I get ready to go home, I'm getting in my car and carry my ass home. And I am not at all questioning these 2 women who are deceased about their decisions. But this man had to be very manipulative to get both these women to go out there. And the crazy part, the mother of the woman who was killed in February, she went to police to report her daughter missing, and she told them who this man had, her daughter had went with. They knew. She had been introduced to this man, Mr. Lane, by her daughter, and she said she didn't like him at all. So the 19-year-old girl had even introduced her mom to this man. And he still violently killed, and I'm sure he raped her also and took pictures, videos. This man was just a psychopath. The thing that's troubling to me, normally a lot of black folks, we don't think these type of people live in the black community. Somebody who would murder and rape a woman after she's dead and record himself on his cell phone having sex with a dead body of the deceased person. And I think that's why these women unfortunately trusted this man. He had to be a very manipulative person to get these 2 women who were his co-workers to come to his home so he could murder and kill them. I have a lot of questions in my head that if these women were alive, why did you all go with him? Why did you trust him? What did he say? What caused you all to trust him with your life? And maybe they just didn't know what type of person, maybe they just didn't understand the world we live in. Clearly, someone's 19 years of age and 23 years of age are very young. Well, I'm sitting at 51 years of age and knowing I ain't going no place with nobody. Y'all, I'm 6'1", 270 pounds on a bed there. I probably weigh about 260 something right about now. I'm not too sure. I had to get on the scale. But anyway, I ain't going no place with nobody. And especially somebody I really didn't know. But because they were co-workers and they worked with this man, I think they trusted him for some reason. And that trust caused these two women to lose their lives. They didn't know they were dealing with a psychopath, a serial killer. And the question I have is, how many other women did he kill? Because I'm sure, I bet you there are a lot of other women out there are missing. They need to look at all missing women cases here in Atlanta or elsewhere where this man lived at to find out who else could he possibly have harmed like this. Because obviously he was on a roll. 2 victims, then dumped the bodies in the same location. Dumped the bodies in the exact same location. I just find that just despicable. Odd and strange. But if you won't go to Channel 2 News, you'll see an interview with the first woman, the 19-year-old daughter, Miss McCoy. Her mom talks about what happened. How she went to the police, tried to report her daughter missing, how they wouldn't take the missing. And this is another issue with this story that disturbs me. This mother went to the police and said, my daughter's missing. We don't know where she is. The police did not want to take that police report. Had this been a white 19-year-old girl missing, I wonder would they have been more quickly willing to take that missing report and to investigate the mother's claim, because she knew who this man was. I'm just throwing this out there because I don't know. But for some reason, I'm thinking had this victim been white, this situation would have ended much differently. They didn't really pursue the situation for some odd reason. Maybe the mother should have went to the news media. Maybe she should have spoken out more loudly. Maybe she should have been more aggressive, but she went to the police. You would think that they would have taken this much more seriously, but they didn't. And because they didn't pursue that situation back in February, when she reported he was able to get hold of another victim. Now I just find this very odd. Also, if you listen to that interview, the mother of the missing 19-year-old girl back in February, Mr. Lane, called her several times. On her phone call, he called her. The same way he called this other mother of one of the girls that he killed. This man was a psycho. But I wonder if this woman had been white, would this situation have ended differently? Would the police have been more aggressive in investigating Mr. Lane and finding out where this first missing daughter, her 19-year-old girl, was? If they had investigated that, took it much more seriously, I don't think he would have gotten the second victim. But again, he might have a whole bunch of other victims out here. These two moms, they both knew Mr. Lane. Or they knew of him. They knew their daughters were last seen with this man. Both women knew this. Both mothers knew this. And if in some way or another they had been able to get together to discuss this situation, both mothers would have came to the conclusion this man was responsible for both their daughters' deaths. So I'm just throwing it out there. I find it to be very disheartening and despicable how the police handled the 19-year-old missing girl, Miss McCoy. I find it hard that they would. You have to watch the video of the mother, and she on Channel 2, and she discusses how she tried to tell the police her daughter was missing, and they didn't want to take the police report immediately. And then she finally was able to convince them some days later to make that missing report. But they didn't investigate her claim that her daughter was with this man, and that the phone was pinging out there at this man's house in Locust Grove. So anyway, y'all, my sisters, y'all got to be more careful. I'm serious. We got some psychopaths out here. Black women have got to be more careful about allowing these men into their homes, into their lives, getting a car going with them. There was another woman here in Atlanta. She was found burned up here. There was a gay guy found burned up here. All these victims are the result of going with somebody, getting in a car, going somewhere with somebody they assumed, another black person, that they assumed they could trust. We live in a different world now, y'all. I don't trust these folks as far as I can throw their ass. I really don't trust these niggas. I'm just keeping it real. They will kill you. They don't care. There's all these people. There are so many people showing up shot and killed, and all Atlanta has a crime problem that it's not just Atlanta, it's everywhere. They found a woman stabbed to death at Piedmont Park yesterday. They said her murder was so brutal. The person who killed her also killed her dog. This was a Caucasian, a white woman, a lesbian who lived in the area. Her partner found her. The question would be, who would kill somebody so brutally like that, disfigure her, in Piedmont Park? This is not the first time somebody has been stabbed to death in Piedmont Park. About a decade ago, another guy was stabbed over there too and died in that park. They found him dead over there. That was about maybe 10 or 15 years ago. Y'all better people have got to start being more careful. You know, when I got here the night the power was out, it crossed my mind to get in my car and go someplace else, maybe go over Earl's house or something. But because I thought the power would be back on pretty quickly, I decided to sit my ass here. I just didn't feel like getting in the car, getting out there, driving through these dark neighborhoods to get to Earl's house. I said, forget it, I'll just sit here and suffer. And it was 11 o'clock at night. When Tuesday night, when the power people got it about 11 something that night, I really thought they'd had the power on much quicker. I ain't even gonna take them hours to get this power back on. I'm listening to all this racket outside that damn door. Maybe I'm just more cautious. And I'm not going to say that when I was 19 or 20 years of age, I didn't meet people. I was just very more. I was just more aware that there were people out here who were deadly. So I didn't really go places with people. I can think of one instance where I met this guy. We'd known each other. We had talked for eons before I went to his home. This was back in the early 90s. I mean, he was like, I remember we didn't have no cell phones like that back then. And I remember him saying, why are you so afraid to come out over here? And I'm like, nah, I'm not afraid to come over to your home. I just don't know who you are. Let's get to know each other by having phone conversations and stuff like that. Even though clearly these women knew Mr. Lane from work and probably had many phone conversations with him to convince them that he was a good guy. And he turned out to be a serial murderer who served 20 years in prison for raping a 10-year-old girl. So, but y'all gotta be more careful. We live in some very strange times where a co-worker will kill you dead and go back to work and ask where you did it. After this man killed that first girl back in February, he went back to work and got another victim from his job. Another victim. That's the killer part. He went and got another victim from the same place he worked at. How many other women are missing up there at this job? I have some questions. When the first one went missing, did the other co-workers not question? Like, well, somebody's missing up here. You know, but some of these jobs have such a high turnover rate. People are just like, you know, I can imagine that people coming and were going on what this particular job, I'm sure probably had a high turnover rate. But anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about to you all about. I'm going to post the link to this article in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. You can also see it on WSB-TV to be the interview with Conteshia McCoy's mother. And she discusses how she went to the police, how she had met Dennis Lane. Her daughter introduced her to him and she didn't like him immediately. Y'all Google shit. Her mom should have Googled that man immediately. But anyway, somebody's knocking on my door. Let me get out of here. I'm out of here and I'll speak to y'all later.